This is my final project for my EDM 543 Gaming and Simulations in Education class. The basic premise for this project can be garnered from watching a video created in a previous week's project. The background to this game involves a group of exchange students leaving their country for a trip to a Pacific island nation where they will be engaged in humanitarian efforts. While flying high over the Pacific, their plane experiences a problem and the pilot crash lands on an island. The group, motivated by their common need for survival, cooperates. One group builds crude shelters while another gathers food, and after a few days of steady work everyone is comfortable. After a few weeks a routine has settled in. The first sign of trouble comes when one student refuses to take his turn to collect water from the spring. Other students support him. They wander off. The once cohesive group begins splitting up. If something is not done, disaster will result. It's clear that the group needs to come together with a common purpose, a common code of conduct, and needs to create a government. Through this game, I've come up with an idea to make learning the basics of how governments function fun, engaging, interactive, and exciting. My idea would take a tremendous amount of programming, but once done, it would appeal to a wide variety of audiences, and would have a market among high school, middle school, and homeschool teachers around the world. What makes this game motivational and clever is that it masks learning behind a World of Warcraft-esque design that sneaks learning into a fun game. Although this game might be expensive initially, because this course is taught in virtually every secondary level school in the world, the opportunity for financial gain is immense. One of the driest yet most important lessons in civics involves answering the question, why do governments exist? Every student of civics, whether they be in communist China or Cuba, or in socialist North Korea, or in theocratic dictatorships in the Middle East or North Africa, first need to understand what it is that government does for them. This interactive simulation will allow students to answer that question while they experience a fun game that pushes them to make some tough leadership decisions and come to a consensus among group members. The students will break up into groups of 5 and each play a character represented by an avatar that they create. According to James Paul G., creating and taking ownership of and putting your personal touch on your character will make you yourself responsible for that character's successes and failures. The character is no longer just an avatar. It is an avatar that you alone will make succeed. The 5 characters would consist of a leader, a Secretary of the Judiciary, a Secretary of Defense, a Secretary of Safety, and a Secretary of the Interior. In the spirit of World of Warcraft, each of these roles would have a prescribed set of tasks that need to be completed. They will wander around the island, completing mini missions, each with a clear objective and a tracking system so the students will know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. For example, the Secretary of Safety would have to gather a proper stick and have his or her character fashion a weapon from it. Then she would have to go out in the woods and find a certain animal, say a boar, and attempt to kill it. If she cannot kill the animal, the character will run away, not die, and the player will have to try again. Once she successfully kills the animal, she will gain the necessary experience and be assigned another task. This experience will be brought to the table during discussions on how best to protect the camp from boars in the forest. Another example would be a task that the Secretary of the Interior would have to complete. In order to determine whether or not there's an ample amount of clean drinking water, the Secretary would have to wander into the woods until they come across a stream. Here he will perform some simple tests to determine if the water is safe. If it is not, he needs to keep looking. If it is, he will gain the necessary experience and be given another task. According to G, the semiotic domain principle at work here will allow the students to feel like they are performing a vital task crucial to the success of the group, and therefore will engage in a meta-level thinking about that domain, in turn providing for meaningful, long-term learning. Once each student has completed all of their assigned missions and gathered all of the data that they will need for their role, they will go to a convenient location where they will be joined by the other 4 students. Now they will be charged with the task of creating their own government. This will be done through voice chatting, and each character will get to explain his or her own opinions. Again, the group will be given tasks to complete, except instead of wandering around and gathering information, these tasks will be done by creating a consensus among group members. Each student will be responsible for creating an aspect of the government. Once the group has completed all of their tasks, they will have created a government and a constitution by which it runs. Taking the game one step further, all of the elements of the constitution could be implemented through time-lapse as the characters watch their creations come to life. Then there could be tests to make sure that everything has been created correctly. There could be, say, a boar attack, or a mutiny, or a typhoon, a fire, and so on. Through these tests, the students would know if they did indeed think of everything, or if they had left out some vital things in their constitution. This task could be done by reading textbooks and answering questions, but by making a game out of it, the students will be engaged and come away with a much deeper understanding of what it takes to create a government.